The diner was quiet that afternoon, bathed in golden light filtering through dusty blinds. The smell of coffee lingered in the air, mixed with the faint aroma of fried eggs and maple syrup. At a corner booth, 3 rich teens sat laughing loudly, the kind of laugh that demanded attention. Their designer clothes, flashy watches, and cocky attitudes stood out against the humble blue booths and checkered floors of the old roadside diner. Behind the counter, an elderly waitress named Margaret was working her shift. Her white uniform, though neatly pressed, bore small stains that never seemed to wash out completely. She had worked in that diner for over 30 years, through storms, losses, and countless faces that came and went. Her hands trembled slightly when she poured coffee, but her heart was steady, kind, patient, and proud of her honest work. But that day, everything changed. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share it. It helps us spread stories that remind the world what true humanity still looks like. Margaret approached the teens' table with her usual gentle smile, holding a steaming coffee pot. "Would you boys like a refill?" she asked softly. The boy, sitting in the middle, wearing a black Supreme t-shirt, looked up, smirked, and said, "Sure, Grandma, fill it up. Just don't spill it this time." His friends burst into laughter. Margaret chuckled nervously, trying not to take offense. Her hands, a bit shaky from arthritis, poured the coffee carefully. But as fate would have it, a small tremor caused a few drops to splash on the table. That tiny mistake changed everything. The teen's smile vanished. He stood up suddenly, slamming his hand on the table. The entire diner went silent. "What the hell, lady? You just spilled coffee on my sleeve," he shouted. Everyone turned to look. Margaret stammered an apology, reaching for a napkin. But before she could wipe it, the boy spat right at her apron. The sound echoed in the silence like thunder. Her eyes widened in shock. She froze, coffee pot still in her trembling hands. The room went still, except for the cruel laughter from the teens. The boy pulled out his phone and started recording, saying mockingly, "Look, everyone, this old hag can't even serve coffee right. Maybe retire already." What he didn't know was that in the far corner of the diner, a group of bikers had just walked in. Big, rough-looking men and one tough woman, wearing leather vests with club patches and steel boots. They had been quietly watching everything unfold. One of them, a tall, bearded man with tattoos running down his arms, clenched his jaw. His name was Rex, the leader of the local biker chapter. He was known for his temper, but also his heart. The bikers exchanged looks. No one spoke, but they didn't have to. They had all seen what that boy had done. Margaret quickly turned away, trying to hide her tears as she walked back behind the counter. Her coffee pot was shaking so much the drops spilled on the floor. She wiped them silently, pretending everything was fine. But her lips trembled. The laughter of the teens still echoed behind her. Rex stood up. His boots thudded heavily on the floor as he walked toward the boys' booth. The teens noticed him approaching but kept laughing, until his massive shadow fell over their table. He didn't say a word, just stood there, arms crossed, his eyes fixed on the boy who had spat. The teen smirked and said, "What? You want to join the fun, old man?" Rex didn't flinch. He simply pointed to the waitress. "Apologize." The laughter died instantly. The other customers watched, tension building. The boy tried to act tough. "Why would I? She's just a waitress." Probably used to it. His tone dripped with arrogance. Rex leaned closer, his voice low but filled with controlled fury. "That just a waitress served half this town. Longer than you've been alive. She worked through Christmas, through her husband's cancer, through nights when people like you didn't even know what struggle meant. So you're going to stand up, walk over, and apologize." The diner was silent again. Even the hum of the refrigerator seemed to pause, but instead of apologizing, the teen laughed. "Man, you bikers think you're scary. You're just old guys with tattoos and bikes." He lifted his phone again to record Rex. "Smile for the camera, tough guy." Rex stared at the phone for a second, then turned and walked away without a word. The teens burst out laughing again, thinking they'd won. But Margaret noticed something different, a quiet determination in Rex's eyes as he left the diner. She didn't know it yet, but what came next would change everything. The next morning, The same teens pulled into the diner's parking lot, laughing as usual. They had posted their little video online, making fun of the clumsy old waitress and the angry biker. It had gone mildly viral overnight. They thought it was hilarious. But as they walked toward the entrance, something made them stop. Lined up outside the diner were dozens of motorcycles, gleaming chrome, thunderous engines, all with the same patch on their jackets, the Iron Serpents. The boys froze. The sound of engines revving filled the air. People from nearby shops peeked out their windows. It looked like a scene from a movie. Rex stood in the center, arms crossed. The old waitress stood beside him, holding a cup of coffee in her hand, looking nervous but somehow protected. The lead teen swallowed hard. We didn't mean anything by it. It was just a joke. Rex didn't let him finish. A joke. His voice boomed like thunder. You humiliate a woman who's worked her whole life for a living, post it online for likes, and call it a joke. The boy lowered his head. His friends stepped back, realizing there was no easy way out. Rex continued, his voice softer but heavier. With meaning. You think money makes you better? You think kindness is weakness? That woman right there probably served your grandparents, maybe even gave them coffee on days they couldn't pay. But people like you've forgotten what respect means. The boy tried to speak, but the lump in his throat stopped him. Rex turned to Margaret. What do you want us to do, ma'am? She looked up at him with tired eyes. No, Rex, no trouble, I just want them to learn. That sentence hit harder than any threat. The boy's heart twisted with guilt. The woman he had humiliated only wanted him to learn, not to suffer. Rex nodded. Then they will. He ordered the boys to follow him. They hesitated, but surrounded by bikers they had no choice. He led them behind the diner, to a small community shelter that Margaret ran on weekends. There, she helped homeless people, washed dishes, and served free meals. You're going to help her today, Rex said. All day. No phones, no attitude. Just help. The boys protested at first, but one look from the bikers silenced them. So reluctantly they began working, scrubbing tables, cleaning dishes, and serving food to people who had nothing. At first they were clumsy, complaining about the heat, the smell, the sweat. But as hours passed, something changed. They saw Margaret serving each plate with a smile, even when her back hurt. They watched her gently talk to a homeless veteran, calling him sir with respect. They saw kids' faces light up when she handed them sandwiches. The teen in the Supreme shirt felt something he hadn't felt in years. Shame. Real, burning shame. And underneath it, something else. Admiration. By evening, when the shelter closed, Margaret sat down to rest. The teen quietly approached her, holding a clean towel. Ma'am, he said softly, I'm sorry for everything. Margaret looked at him for a long moment, then smiled gently. We all make mistakes, son. What matters is what we do after. Tears welled up in his eyes. He had never been forgiven so easily, so purely. That moment would stay with him forever. Rex walked up, placing a hand on his shoulder. You learned something today? The boy nodded. Yeah, that respect isn't given because of money or clothes. It's earned, and it's owed to everyone. Rex smiled. Good. Then maybe next time you see someone working hard, you'll remember Margaret. The bikers roared their engines and left, one by one. The boy stood there watching them ride off into the sunset, the sound fading into the wind. He turned back to see Margaret waving goodbye with her tired but kind eyes. Weeks later, that same boy returned to the diner, not with his friends, but alone. He wore no flashy clothes, no designer brand, just a plain t-shirt and jeans. He walked in, shyly holding a small box. Margaret recognized him instantly. I wanted to thank you, he said softly. You didn't just forgive me, you changed me. He handed her the box. Inside was a brand new coffee pot, engraved with the words, For Margaret, the strongest woman I know. Tears filled her eyes. She hugged him gently, and for a moment the diner felt like home again. As the boy left, Rex, sitting in a corner booth with his club, raised his cup toward him in silent acknowledgement. The boy smiled and nodded. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share. Let's keep spreading stories that remind us of the power of kindness, respect, and change. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Rex's place? That day, In a small diner under the golden sun, an arrogant boy learned that true strength isn't about wealth or pride. It's about respecting those who serve with love. And somewhere in the quiet hum of that diner, a gentle old waitress smiled, knowing that maybe, just maybe, she had made the world a little kinder.